Okay, so I had an interesting conversation that I wanted to share with you guys from somebody who was away at war back in 2012 in Afghanistan. And so this person was sharing how when they were away at war that a bunch of people were taken hostage under their watch. And he was saying that, we'll just call him Brian. We'll just say Brian said that when he was back in Afghanistan that he had originally gone there because he was a proud American and he wanted to fight for his country. And then he got there and he was not prepared for the amount of pleasures he would find when he was there. That he had actually gone to a location where there was beautiful architectural buildings, there was dancing, there was movies, there was all kinds of things that he wanted to be a part of. And so while many of his brothers were being taken hostage, he was basically vacationing. And he had just decided that, you know, he was just tired of fighting. He was tired of war, and he wasn't going to do it anymore. So, you know, they say there's I think about 350,000 people who died during the war in Afghanistan. That's including civilians. And so I asked him, you know, if he feels responsible for any of those deaths. And he said he really didn't want to think about it, that it made him uncomfortable to think about what his choices did and how they impacted other people and how they would have then impacted the country as a whole. And so as we were talking about some of the things he saw there, he said at one point the Afghans came and disarmed him and his troop, that they told them they weren't allowed to have weapons, and so they surrendered their guns. And so, of course, I asked him how is it possible that men who went there to protect would have ever surrendered their guns when their guns were the only thing that would keep them, potentially keep them alive. And he said, well, they said that we would face charges and we would end up in jail if we didn't turn over our guns. So they went ahead and surrendered their weapons. And when he came back to the United States, many of the people in his pod had been killed or taken hostage. And he was incarcerated in the United States, basically for abandoning his post, for going AWOL. And everybody here supports that, right? They say, you know, you can't abandon your post. What you do doesn't just impact you, but it impacts everybody who's depending on you. So my question to you, the American people, is how many times has that story been true for your own life? Because see, as an American, we each have responsibilities. Our Constitution and our freedoms were not willingly given to us. They were fought for. And the only protectors of the Constitution are we the people. The elected officials, the Supreme Court, the President of the United States will never protect our rights and should never protect our rights more than we are willing to fight to protect our rights. So for all the people who have gotten distracted and who have decided that this battle isn't for them, tell me how you feel about the person I described to you in Afghanistan, who went there thinking it was one way and decided along the way that, you know what, his flag wasn't really worth fighting for anymore, and that there were too many hobbies and events he wanted to partake in. Our Constitution does not exist in this country. You think that it does, but that's only until you get pulled over and your car is searched without a warrant. And then you realize that warrantless searches and seizures are unconstitutional and that nobody cares. The officials don't care. I was speaking to a police officer a couple weeks ago, and he actually said these words to me. If I need to search somebody, oftentimes I will call in the FBI because they have ways of getting around all of the things that we can't get around as police officers. and they can get me information and get me warrants and get information even without warrants quicker than anybody in our precinct can. And I said, so you're comfortable calling in the federal government to abuse the people and take away their rights? And you're happy that you have them at your disposal for that? Do you understand that that's abusing the people? That even if you think you have a right to search this person's stuff, if you can't obtain a search warrant constitutionally, that you don't have any business then searching that person's property or belongings, and that that's actually protected in the United States Constitution? And he said, they're all criminals, and if I need to get my information, I need to get my information, and I don't care how I have to get it. So if we look at the Constitution, and we look at what our rights are, and we realize that our rights are being trampled on everywhere we go, we understand that we have political prisoners that have been wrongfully imprisoned, that have been denied bail, that have been denied a speedy trial. If this isn't a big deal to you guys, it's because you don't even understand how unconstitutional that is. Except for capital offenses and murder, you cannot deny somebody's constitutional right to bail. So the fact that we have this happening all over the country, we have over 10,000 wrongful convictions a year in the United States. That's just the convictions. That's not even the wrongful imprisonments of people who are being held right now. And our founding fathers gave us the responsibility, just like the military man who was in Afghanistan. He was given a responsibility, and he abandoned his responsibility for pleasure. And when he did that, people died. And so it might not seem like a big deal to you unless one of your family members were the ones who died or who were taken hostage in that situation. So if you would hold that man responsible for abandoning his post, my question to you is, why do you not hold yourself responsible for abandoning your post to uphold the rights of the people in the United States of America? Why is it okay with you that the United States Constitution is being abused and being shredded in the courtroom? Why is it okay with you that judges and prosecuting attorneys are being paid $25,000 sometimes, bonuses when they win their cases? Why is this okay? Is it because you, like the person I described in Afghanistan, were off enjoying pleasures and you just didn't even want to know about the number of deaths that occurred on your watch? In the United States of America, we are all responsible for our freedoms. We are responsible. That is the supreme law of the land. Our founding fathers gave us the obligation, the right, and the responsibility to make sure that our government stayed within the confines that were laid out in the United States Constitution. The federal government is so far outside of those boundaries, you have no rights. You have no rights. Trust me. You think you have rights because you pay all your bills and your fines and your taxes. But as soon as you try to claim any of your God-given rights and withdraw from the system, you will find yourself in jail. A right is a right because it cannot be taken away. You have the right to hunt. You have the right to travel. You have the right to purchase a weapon to protect your family without ever going to your federal government for protection. Our founding fathers also believed that if one state started to abuse the rights of the people, that all states would get involved and would basically raise holy hell against the government, letting them know that ain't happening here on American soil. That's not happening here. That's going to happen in China. That's going to happen in Russia. That's not going to happen in the United States of America, because my flag means more to me. The people who died defending my freedoms, my children's rights, all of that means more to me than my own life. There are some things that are more important than your life, and your freedom truly is one of them. We have a gift here in this country. Let's rise up. Let's speak out. Our politicians cannot fix this mess, you guys. Our politicians will not fix this mess. They created the mess. The apathy of the people who are on vacation and the politicians are who created the mess that we're in right now. They're the ones who allowed the federal government to get to where it is. What makes you think they are going to be able to correct that mess? By blood and suffering. By blood and suffering, our freedoms were won. Are you willing? Are you willing to be one of the few who will stand up and say, no more, I will not comply. I will not comply with your unjust laws. And when you bring those laws upon my neighbor, I will stand with them. And I will make sure that you don't abuse them, because that is my obligation as a United States, as a United States citizen. That is my obligation. If you fly a flag outside of your house, that is your obligation to uphold the rights that that flag is supposed to represent. It is your obligation. It is your duty as an American. No different than the soldier I was describing before in Afghanistan. That was his obligation. It was his obligation to not allow himself or any of his troops to be disarmed. It was his obligation to not allow himself to be distracted with any of the beauty or the entertainment around. It was his obligation, and he failed. Are you failing your obligation right now? If you are, do something about it. Get involved. Learn about the people who are being abused in this nation right now. The people of Standing Rock have our own military being used against them. That's unconstitutional. Our military is not supposed to be used on our own civilians. It's not. It's unconstitutional. You should all be up in arms about that. Our own military was used against the occupiers at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. It was used against all the people who went to stand with the Bundys, who were fighting for their land rights down in Nevada. You guys, we should all be really pissed off right now, and the fact that we're not tells me we're all distracted. Get focused. If you wave a flag around, learn what it represents, defend it. We need you. Please unite with other American-loving, God-fearing people and defend our rights. We all have to unite right now. We stand together or we hang separately. God bless you guys. Merry Christmas.